Well, some coalition MPs are expressing support for a proposal to extend drug tests to politicians. Colourful Senator Jacqui Lambie is only willing to back drug tests for welfare recipients. That's if federal MPs are given the same treatment. Let's cross live to our political reporter, Eliza Edwards. Eliza, it's gaining traction. Each interview we get here on Sky News, we can add another to the list.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. So the coalition is starting to court the crossbench to try and get support for this revised legislation that would see some people on Newstart and youth allowance facing drug tests. Now, Senator Jacqui Lambie, she says what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and that federal politicians should be facing drug tests as well, and that's the only way she'll back this bill. Some within the government say they don't see a problem with that suggestion.
Personally, I'm completely relaxed about that. I think, if that is what it takes to get this very important reform through, I personally would be entirely open to it, and I'd be quite happy to advocate for that within the government. Now, this is a very important reform because it's all about making sure that we help unemployed Australians on welfare back into work.
I don't have an issue with that at all, Kieran. Most of my working life has been spent in locations where you can be drug or alcohol tested while you're at work, whether that's in heavy construction, heavy industry or anywhere else. And those things have been put in place in consultation with unions and workers and others. It's been around for more than a decade. I just think this is a practical, common sense approach to a really tough issue.
Now, Tom, there's been a bit of confusion about exactly where Labor stands on this revised legislation. The Deputy Leader, Richard Marles, in an interview this morning, he came out saying that the party is open to reviewing the bill. And then a few hours later, the Shadow Social Services Minister said quite the opposite. She said that the party's position is clear on this and they're not happy with it as it stands and that it hasn't worked when it's been trialled in other countries.
This is an indiscriminate policy, and what is really needed is more facilities for people to get real help if they've got drug addiction. This is random and it will not be effective. We have seen in the past experts come out and say repeatedly that this policy will not work. It's been tried in the United States, it's been tried in New Zealand, and it's been proved a failure.
Now, Linda Burney went on to say that people on Newstart and youth allowance will have their payments ripped away if they're tested positive for drugs. But it's important to note that's not exactly what's outlined in the legislation. The Social Services Minister pointing out that payments will be quarantined, not taken away altogether.
Not taking money away from them. No person who's currently coming onto welfare will receive any less than they would have pre this trial being undertaken. What we're saying is that instead of giving them access to all of their money in cash which only in many instances is going straight to drug dealers, we're saying let's quarantine some of it and not make it available as cash so that these people can address their addiction.
If the legislation does pass Parliament, these trials will be rolled out in 3 locations in New South Wales, Queensland and WA. Tom?